Schmidt?
I'm sorry, I don't know if this is kind of old business. In the paper the other day, there was a thing about the pallet company out on 2000 south from Kensington that we had problems with before with the delegation agreement. And, there was a fire out there that they had been burning, illegally burning, as far as I know. And are you aware of this situation? And I just wondered, is anybody contacting the IEPA about the situation and had them check into what's going on at that property? And does anybody know?
Karen, you're talking about, it was in the blotter, and it was about the struggle between who was going to handle it. Is that what you're talking about, the fire?
No, it was
the Sheriff's Department that was reported to Criminal Justice. They have that under control, if you will. They're handling.
And how are they handling it?
Well, I can give you an update at the next Criminal Justice meeting. I know they were on that.
Are they calling the IEPA?
I can look at my minutes. I don't really recall, but I can certainly do that. And
I think Mike has some information about it.
I spent a little time yesterday on the phone over this whole issue. Yes, the Sheriff's Department has responded numerous times. It seems that a fire at that property is an occurrence every few months for whatever reason. It's to the point that the local fire department will not respond, and they're two houses away. Okay, they'll stand in the parking lot and watch because they are not going to respond to that site. Between the incident occurred with our own staff as well as fire staff and so forth, they're rather frustrated with the whole process. Deputies did respond. They wrote up reports on the last two fires. The last one, deputies referred to the EPA, referred the matter to the EPA to report the matter, and then also referred it to our own health department for follow-up. And so yes, the EPA has been informed on numerous occasions. Of course, it's been an ongoing issue with the EPA at that site. I guess the response is that based on the history at that site, our staff is not going to set foot on the property, leave it. We're going to pass it up to a higher level and let the EPA deal with it. They've got more resources to bear in terms of Attorney General and that type of thing. But it's a real frustrating situation out there, and there's no doubt about that. I think locally we've done what we can to investigate and respond. The question is, what is burning? You know, the report from the deputies is that there's a pungent smell and permeates the whole area down there. And, it's unclear what is going on.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Do we, are there any ordinances or criminal law that we could apply in this? Because I get people telling me that when they smell out there, it does not smell just like wood burning. So I think there might be some other burning going on. And so is there anything we could do locally, have the state's attorney step in? I would think that, I know we had problems in the past with the property owner and what he did to our own employees, but I would think maybe the state's attorney, he would, you know, be respectful of that, and if charges are filed.
Well, as I say, I think at this point the EPA is handling the matter and not involving our local staff at all. Other than to respond when there's a call of a fire, then they'll report that on up to the EPA. Mr. Beavis is here today. Maybe he'd want to make a comment. Maybe not, but nevertheless. Speak up, Jeff.
Good morning. The direct answer to Ann's question would be yes, there is local ordinances that deal with open burning, open dumping. In the event that the health department is contacted, or planning and zoning is contacted about a fire event after the fact, when we get there, then typically during an investigation, it's no longer burning, it's just an ash pile. And then you have to try to determine what was in the pile, what kind of solid waste debris it is, and then typically you'll send a letter to the owner asking for cleanup and correction and not to do this anymore. most of the times that will end the situation. The individual will say, I had no idea, I didn't know, I'm sorry. In some cases, you can write a ticket when it's a second, a third offense. That then seems to get the attention of most of the other people, and that would process through the court system with the assistance of the state's attorney here locally. In this situation, it was handled that way initially and has continued to take place, so that through the delegation agreement, when it was in effect, was trying to be handled, I think, by possibly Jim and Donna. And then when the delegation agreement was suspended, the matter was attempted to be referred to the EPA for this particular instance. And likewise was a few weeks ago when it occurred again. And at this point, as Chairman Bossert said, I'm under the direction from the administrator, not to risk my staff's safety on this particular property for this individual who keeps burning that. It was referred to the EPA by both the health department and the police department in this case for this situation.
Just have a question for you, John.
Sure.
John, would it be possible, because it sounds like this, at this property, this is going on a very rather frequent basis, is there any possibility that you could be accompanied by backup deputies, backed up by deputies when you go out there? Or are we looking at a, what kind of scenario would that be if you were to go out there with deputies, and that way we can get somebody there while this is occurring?
That is definitely a possibility. In any particular situation, when the health department in particular would receive a complaint, that potentially the individual making the complaint, or based on prior history, it is deemed to be a potential situation in regards to hostility, then we have been able to in the past, and I'm sure we could in the future, ask for the assistance of an accompanying officer, whether it be in a village or a town, or it be in unincorporated areas. So yes, that is a possibility. That's not been specifically discussed at this point in regards to this situation. It's been felt that based upon the history, the fact that if we were to cite this, it's believed that if we were to cite this individual today, that in a month they could be burning again, thumbing their nose at the health department or the state or the EPA for that matter.
Well, hopefully all the agencies can get involved and try to put a stop to this, because this is just basic behaviorism. If a person does a behavior and has no consequences, they're going to repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. So hopefully, between the health department, EPA, the state's attorney, we can get something going so this person realizes there are consequences to it. Because it's when that burning smoke goes out, those particulates are being breathed in by a lot of people. And if you're breathing it in, if you're smelling it, you're breathing it in, your body's taking those toxins in.
Smith.
I just want to say that to me, this is an obvious case of why we need more local control. And before we got rid of the delegation agreement and, the EPA should handle it, they don't handle it. I mean, it's not being handled, and we should have more local control of these type of things.
Thank you, John. Any other old business coming forward?
Just one last thing. Mike, would you be able to give us a report within a couple of months, within 6